and welcome back to another great episode of Cutting Through the Red Tape. It is your girl, LaShanta. Listen, I am super excited about today's show. If you had a chance to see the flyer on Facebook, the title of this show is United We Stand. And I just believe in the time that we're living in now, we need to be united and we need to stand, because if we are against each other, then we're surely going to fall. Hello. I need you guys to understand that it's better to be in massive numbers than it is to just be out there in the world alone, not understanding where to go, who to talk to, what you need to do to take care of you and your family. So I have some very special guests here with me on Cutting Through the Red Tape. I'm going to give them the honor of introducing themselves. But before we do that, y'all, I got Mr. Larry Sutton on the show with me today. So excited. If you guys know Mr. Larry Sutton, and for some reason I want to call you Doctor, that's okay, it's coming. Mr. Larry Sutton was my teacher, my high school teacher, and let me tell you, the prayers of the righteous availeth much, and I'm gonna keep it at that, okay? Your girl made it. I made it. And so I'm just super excited to have Mr. Larry Sutton here on the show with me today. He is definitely an icon. He is definitely a leader here in Clinton, North Carolina. But I do have Mr. Marcus Bass here with us also, and Lady Leandris Butler. So we are very excited to kick off this show, United We Stand. I'm going to give each of them an opportunity to give us just a little bit of information about them, and we certainly hope that you guys enjoyed this show. Mr. Sutton!
All right, well, thank you very much, LaShanta.
Absolutely.
It's good being on for this Cutting Through the Red Tape show.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate the invitation to come here this evening.
Absolutely. Thank you for accepting.
You're quite welcome. I am Larry Sutton. I am a Clinton native. I was born here some 75 years ago, and I grew up in the Burskin community, and I went to public schools in the Clinton City School District, and I also went to A&T in 1968, where I majored in history, receiving my history education degree in 1972. I went on to Duke for my Master of Arts in Teaching degree, and I returned home in 1973 to my former alma mater, Clinton High School. It's where I began my teaching career in 1973. Cutting through the chase started quickly. I spent 34 years in teaching. I retired in 2007, and since then I have been very involved in local activities, community activities, and I am currently the president of the local branch of the NAACP here in Sangamon County. And I'm also very involved with the Sangamon County HBCU Council that we formed in 2023. So today we hope to bring you important information that you can benefit from as well.
Absolutely. Ooh, I feel that in my shot now, Mr. Sutton. Now that was a good introduction. Brother Marcus?
I don't know if I can top this. I'm not going to try. But it's good to be on Cutting Through the Red Tape. Shanta, thank you for this invitation. Had a chance to watch a couple of episodes and excited for this conversation. I've had the pleasure of growing up in Clinton as well. Went to Clinton High School, was taught by Mr. Sutton. He was also the advisor of the Black Men's Organization, BMO, along with Mr. Moore and Mr. Antonio Hemingway. I also want to make sure that everybody also knows Mr. Sutton's legacy and activism in this city has been a stalwart and an example for a lot of us in regards to building a bridge from where we've come and where we're going. I've had the opportunity to also attend North Carolina A&T, also from Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and I am saved. That's the topic of the conversation for another day, but
a different show.
A different show. And now I have the opportunity to lead an organization called the North Carolina Black Alliance. It is comprised of Black elected officials, HBCUs, and students that graduated or alumni of HBCUs, churches, and civic and service organizations, all committed to improving living conditions of individuals across the state. Also serve as the chair of the Martin Luther King Commission for the state of North Carolina. I live in Raleigh. I spend most of my time between Raleigh, Charlotte, and Sampson County.
Nice.
Well, y'all, I'm not going to do too much. I can't compare it to these guys sitting right here.
Of course.
But I am Deontay Stoller. I am also born and raised here. Well, not born, but I was raised here in Clayton. Definitely just been, going through the activism stage. I actually started working with both Mr. Sutton and Mr. Bass, so accolades to them for even getting me started with the activism that I've done. One of the major things that I've done here was the 2020 protest in honor of George Floyd. So that was kind of like my main starting point or my stepping point to get me started with being involved and just trying to do all that I can to help not only make this place a better place for all of us, but especially for my Black folks here in Sampson County, as well as all over the world. So that's pretty much me, and that's it.
Well, thank you all so very much for those warm introductions. It is safe to say, you guys, I got some heavy hitters on this show, and I am super excited for the things that you're going to learn on today. The questions, some may have had some questions about certain things and you don't know which way to go. That is why we are here. We encourage, that you ask questions, because when my mama say go vote, I go vote. She handed me a piece of paper and she said, this is who you're supposed to vote for. But I want to get into a position to know exactly who I am voting for. And that's important because mama's not going to always be at the polls with me. And it is my duty to take a stand and learn exactly who I'm voting for. So this is what this show is primarily about. A lot of people say we don't vote, we don't do this, and we don't do that. And I understand. More so, it's because you don't understand. And that's okay that you don't understand. But listen, we're going to gain wisdom, clarity, and understanding today. Okay? So, again, I thank you guys for saying yes to being a part of this show today. We're going to go ahead and cut right through it. Y'all know how I do on Cutting Through the Red Tape. The very first question I have for all of us today, and I don't want too many people to take offense, but it is what it is, and we are here again to educate. So I'm just going to say 1619 slavery versus slavery in 2026. Let that sink in. We are free, but we are not free. And I want you guys to understand the difference between being free and then being free indeed. There is a difference in between the two. And so we're going to go ahead and get into that. Anybody want to start with that question? How are you guys feeling about what you know from that time versus where we are today?
Yeah, I don't mind getting started. And other BMO advisor, Linwood Hemingway. Antonio Hemingway is a classmate of mine. Shout out to Clinton High School class of 2005. Just want to put that out there.
Yeah, we're not going to do shout outs here on Cut Through the Red.
Oh, we're not going to do that? Okay, I'm sorry.
Shout out to you.
I don't want to break the rules.
BMO, I don't know. You said Black Men Organization.
Yeah.
Is that still part of the school?
BMO is no longer at Clinton High School. They've tried to revive it for a while, but it has not been able to been brought back in its current context. But let me stick on the topic. Let me get on the topic. I like the way you posed that question because in a lot of cases, people feel like slavery is over, and it's not. Right now in 2026, slavery is still a part of our United States Constitution. A lot of people don't even recognize that. Slavery is still legal in the Constitution, it dictates that individuals that are incarcerated are considered enslaved. As a matter of fact, there are more black men incarcerated now than there were black men enslaved in the 1600s. And so when you think about the institution of slavery, that was intended to make a profit for this country off the backs of free labor. And I also want to state that there were black people that were here in America before slavery started. A lot of people don't think that we only came over on ships. We were trading with the United States, with the Indians at the time, well before the Nina de Pinta de Santa Maria. But anyway, in this current state of slavery, we are seeing individuals that are forced to work in the same kind of circumstances in which American descendants of slaves had to work in the 1600s today, making millions of dollars for corporations. There's countless corporations, from agriculture to actual clothing companies that make money, profit off of slave labor. And so while we want to look at, slavery is so far removed from us and it was in a whole nother different chapter. No, it is right here in the same book called America as it was then. It just is hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of you, Mr. Bass, is the levels of slavery have just changed. Like, it's still, just like you said, it's still definitely prominent. It's still here. It's right in front of our faces, and a lot of people, they're just blind to it. They don't even see it. But it's just like how you were saying about incarcerated men, the modern day pig laws, pretty much what it is. How we had the indentured servants back in the early 1900s, having them, certain rules that they couldn't even do, or certain things that they couldn't do that shouldn't even have been any kind of law or anything, but they just made it to oppress those people or keep them oppressed, keep those people in that category of being tied down and not having that freedom that they were supposed to technically have. But it's just, how we have to start learning about how to move around about things, knowing the laws, knowing what we need to do in certain situations, learning exactly how to maneuver the resources and stuff that we could have around, don't know about it, or people just, we're not, I'm not going to say we're being ignorant to it, but it's just the lack of people not knowing. Mm-hmm. So the more that we can come together and just educate one another, we can start trying to reverse a lot of these laws and things that have been put into place to keep us oppressed.
That's right. I really feel like we are a type of people that it's hard to tell us something because we feel like we know the way. Mm-hmm. And it's okay to not know the way, but as you're on your journey or whatever the situation may be, ask questions and get to a place to where somebody can actually teach you something. We feel like, well, I'm gonna say me because I was a stubborn child. But now, Mama, I heard everything you said, girl. And I'm trying my best to live the life that she was telling me about as a child, because there are a lot of things that I don't know. And I put myself in position to feel like I can get myself out of that situation. You get what I'm saying without saying too many words. I just really feel like the lack of knowledge, clarity, and the fact that we don't want to lean on one another is what has us trapped in certain situations.
And let me just add to the conversation about 1619 slavery and 2026 slavery. I do want to hasten to say this. We have been in this country as a people for over 400 years. And I don't want anyone to take away from what's being said that there has not been great strides made in America. We have made great strides in the country because we did once have slavery as an institution here, and the Civil War was fought to rid the nation of the chattel slavery at that time. And then since that time, we've had Jim Crow, and we've had other forms of slavery. But yet and still, as a people, we have organized and become involved in movements to make things better. And things have been made much better over the decades and centuries. But let me say this also. This year we are celebrating America 250. This country this year will turn 250 years old, from 1776 through 2026. And obviously, we can all say there have been great strides made over the years. But we can also all say we still have a lot of work to do.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to note that the founding of America is still younger than slavery, right? When you think about the 250-year experiment, we are older. Our participation as enslaved people on this land is older than the exercise of America itself. And so I think it's something to be said about the 250 years, but also about the 150 years prior to the forming of America as a nation. And it's also interesting, I think, Mr. Sutton, you're absolutely right in regards to talking about the great strides that we have made despite Jim Crow, despite some of these other pushes. As a matter of fact, the George Floyd protest was immediately after the Floyd protest, we saw millions, if not billions of dollars coming at a very rapid pace into our communities to help improve conditions. That dried up very quickly. But it's always interesting to note that after any advancement of a society, there's a regression back in kind of a 2 steps forward, 1 step back scenario, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. That is very significant and unique to the condition of Black people in America.
And speaking of regression, following strides, to me, we are obviously in a regression right now.
Sure.
We know what's happening across the country, and a lot of the things that are happening are attempts to introduce forms of discrimination, forms of holding folks back. For example, we have seen the erasure of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And all of those things, in my opinion, show we are going backwards and not going forward.
And why do you think we are going backwards as a people? Like, is it something that we are doing as far as us? Why do you think we are going backwards?
Just mainly, I would say leadership is the main issue for me, I would say. Whenever you have leadership and you're supposed to follow the leadership that you have, and they're constantly at each other's heads, it's just always constantly promoting or for people not to be unified. So it's always having that factor for, do I need to go to this side? Do I need to go to that side? Or I don't really know what I'm doing here. I don't know what I'm doing there. So I need to go and try to go on this side, go this way. People are confused right now. So they don't know what direction, they don't know what resources they need, they don't know what steps to take to even try to make things better. They just don't know. So once I feel like if leadership came into play a little bit better and actually took the consideration of the people in hand and not just worry about the system, you moving as a unit, that right there is what is destroying us, I feel. And it just constantly promotes that separation or for everybody. So that's what I think the main issue is, mainly with the leadership. And it just causes way more other issues, with the leadership being off now, like the administration that we have now, we're going into wars that are unnecessary. You have people just not being able to support the cost of living at all. Everything's skyrocketing through the roof. Nobody is like feeling comfortable with life. So it's just constantly a wear and tear on people, and it just messes up a whole lot of things. That goes leading all the way down to mental health and all that kind of stuff. People don't know how they are going to make their next meal. People are not knowing how they're going to pay the next bill that they have. Just, world is just in turmoil right now. And as soon as we can get the head good, I feel like the tail will start going up and falling. So
But that still brings us back to the main question that, I mean, we have to pick the leader. It was our choice. So we're still not where we need to be because we voted, well, I didn't vote for that leader, but the leader was voted in and he won. So the people was confused before, and now they're even more confused now that we have this leader. So it still goes back to the same exact question because the leader was chosen by the people.
Yeah. I would tend to say that, and we started this conversation talking about slavery. In this part of the state, in eastern North Carolina, we have a very peculiar geographic demographic alignment where individuals have a lot of pride in place. Folks are proud to be from Sampson County. We're proud to have the last name and be able to trace that last name back to our descendants, and some of which were enslaved in this very county. But I also think it's interesting to note that while the descendants of slaves still live in this county and in eastern North Carolina, the descendants of the slave owners still live here as well. And so it's an interesting dynamic when you remove the plantation, but you still have the plantation politic in place for over 100 years. We can't look at our condition just based solely off of our personal responsibility. We come from an era of individuals that immediately after slavery began to own businesses, began to build schools right here in this county, began to try to pull their way out of those conditions. And it wasn't because they got lazy, the rules changed. Violence was enacted upon those communities. Those newly freed slaves were met with a lot of violence. As a matter of fact, when we talk about voting now, it's interesting to note that when black people first received the right to vote, immediately after slavery, the first Voting Rights Act, Ms. Sutton, you can correct me on this, we voted at 100%. As a matter of fact, black people voted in so much historic numbers that a Reconstruction government was put in place, a new constitution was written, and we had more black people in Congress, more black people in the state legislature in the 20 years removed, 30 years removed from slavery than even today. People did not like that forward progression. Again, we were put here to improve money for the corporations and corporate interests. When we started making money for ourselves, having land for ourselves, educating ourselves, that was considered anti-American at the time because it's not feeding the institution. So what did they do? They enacted violence. They used the same individuals that were over the slave patrols to begin to patrol and over-police our communities. They began to deny us loans. They began to put in certifications where you had to have certain conditions in order to do hair or to have a daycare or to sell goods. And so those codes are now a part of the system of life in which, 100 years removed from any of the conversation around enslavement or Reconstruction, we are still facing the brunt reality of that traumatic experience immediately after slavery. And we're the only society, the only culture that has not been given the benefit of reinstitutionalized resources for the years in which we were enslaved. I've seen many different individual people from our Jewish communities, our brothers and sisters in the Jewish community, to our Indian Americans. We just saw a major win for our Native American community in citizenship for the individuals in tribes in eastern North Carolina. Still waiting on the Coharie tribe to receive their designation. But in regards to African Americans, the individuals that for 150 years before the country and then 250 years after the country were still in perpetual slavery and built these lands, there's no restitution. So I can't necessarily blame us, nor can I blame us not picking a leader, because we're the only community, the black community, that has to pick a leader. There is no one leader of the Mexican American community. There is no one leader of the Indian American community. There is no one leader of the Asian community, but we're the only group of millions that told to pick one person, and then that person ended up getting killed by the system, and then we have to look for another leader.
And follow up on what you're saying, Mr. Bass, just think about this. Today, some 61 years ago today, we had black people and some white allies marching from Selma to Montgomery, Alabama for the right to vote. That was 1965. and that's just 61 years removed. And we thought we had won the battle for the right to vote. But we have new leadership in the country today, and they're trying to whitewash those that progress made years ago, and we're going backward the wrong way. So it's not that we have not fought for our right to vote,
That's right.
our right to own and to be a part of society. We fought and we won. But today, we have progress being reversed. And we are having to fight all over again. The rules have changed. And we're being forced to fight the same battles over and over and over.
Wow. So it's almost like a cycle that we are trapped in. Do anybody have any type of idea how we can get out of that?
Well, I do believe we have a major tool if we choose to use it. And that tool is the right to vote. However, we know voting is important. Voting is one thing. But at the same time, we have the movement to suppress the right to vote. So we'll fight for the right to vote, and then we have a step backward when states begin to pass laws to suppress the right to vote. So it's pretty hard when you are winning, and then all of a sudden you see where progress we had attained years ago is now being reversed. So we're going to still have to register, we're going to still have to vote and vote and vote. And I believe we're going to have to get those folks off the couch who for decades have not shown interest in voting, have not shown any interest in engagement, and they simply complain but don't take the movements to register and become voters to have changed the system.
I think with I would say, definitely with my generation, a lot of people, they just don't care about voting because they feel like it's not going to have any kind of effect later on, because you got broken systems that take away votes. They, don't count everybody's votes. They just feel like it's a waste of time. But last year I even talked to maybe made a difference in 5 or 6 people. This is their first year voting. They're 30, 40 years old. Go ahead out there and just get out there and see what can happen. And it discouraged a lot of people because I went and voted and we still didn't win. We still didn't get the person that we wanted. So it is a little bit discouraging to some folks. But that's where these informationals or these little gatherings where we can have these conversations kind of help people understand how the system works. And the more that we come in numbers, we can make that difference. We can't have 2 or 3 people over here voting for this thing, but then you got the opposition and they have 1,000 or 2,000 people.
Yeah.
And your vote it's not going to matter at that point because you're automatically outruled. Right. So we have to get everybody on one accord. That goes back to that unity. Once we get that unity available to everybody and get everybody to see the same big picture at the end, a lot of people think short term, they're not thinking long term. So once they can get out of their heads and start thinking about how things function, how things in the past have worked, what can we come in and do to make this different, a different outcome? And it's simply just having the numbers and the knowledge and the understanding about what's going on.
I like that answer. Numbers definitely will move mountains and move the people. So y'all, we need to just show up. Y'all show up for everything else. We need to show up. And I'm speaking for myself too because I didn't vote the last time. But now that I'm gaining a better understanding about who to vote for, what to look for whenever we're supposed to vote, then I have a better idea or understanding in who to vote for, how my vote is going to actually make a difference. So I'm excited about that anyway. Now, just learning about different people. And just like DeAndre said, we have to vote, and like Mr. said, we have to vote in large numbers. Like, everybody needed up.
Yeah, and I think along with that too, we have a notion to tend to believe that certain things aren't our business, right? Right now there's a war going on across the world. Earlier this year and last year, immigration enforcement was a real big issue. And one of the things I heard certain voices say in our community is that that's not our business. That's what they want you to think. They want you to believe that there are certain subjects that are taboo or that are off limits to our community. But going back to this notion of slavery and going back to the choice of freedom right now, one of the things that we have to realize is that every single thing in this country is a part of our business. As a matter of fact, some black people that I talk to will say, well, I'm not political. Even if you're not voting, you are political. Your freedom in America is designated by the Constitution. We're the only people in the Constitution that's freedom is designated by that document. And if we want to keep ourselves free, we have to continue to exercise our right to vote. And we'll see over time, the more we don't vote, the more we don't engage, we slide further and further back. Systemic injustice is very real, and the attacks on voting rights is very real. The way they draw maps to manipulate the voting laws, and even how they set up government meetings during the middle of the day where working people can't get to those meetings, that's by design. But one thing that they know is that whenever we go to the polls and whenever we vote in numbers, we make history, and we've shown it time after time after time. But I think the thing that we need to keep in mind is that electoral politics, just like education, is something that can be given and is something that can be lost. And so if you don't exercise the right to vote every year, just like not exercising your knowledge or just not exercising your body, you will lose the standard that your body had. Same thing goes for voting. If you miss 2 or 3 elections, after a while you're going to give up your power. So you're going to go vote?
I think we need to start off by saying there's a piece of paper with your name on it. And if you don't get out there and vote, they can use that piece of paper to make you be with somebody else. And that's the best way that I can say it. So that means you're going to go with somebody else and you're going to cook, you're going to clean, you're going to watch their kids, you're going to take out their trash. So I think we should start out like that. You don't go vote, you don't go home.
That's the point. It's real.
I mean, it's real because everything that you said, I understood what you said. But there's somebody out there that's listening to us, and they don't technically understand what you said. So I had to break it down the way I knew how to break it down, because I didn't realize there was a piece of paper somewhere that can reverse what had already taken place years and years and years ago. So we're not, I go back to the very beginning of the show when I said we're free, but we're not free indeed. That's exactly what I meant when I said we are free, but we are not free indeed. Until we can get off that piece of paper or whatever we need to get to be truly free indeed, we have got to show up in mass numbers and votes.
And just, go ahead, Mr.
And also, Mr. Bass mentioned the word systemic. Well, that word may be hard for people to understand. Systemic means it has roots going back centuries. The effect of slavery on this country is still happening today. Slavery was so systemic in our system that the effects of slavery are still impacting society and us today. And we need to become fully aware of our history and do all we can to make sure we are, again, becoming more united as a people. We can never become too united as a people. And I think unity among ourselves is critical, because once we have that unity among yourselves, you are more apt to work together to build and to create things we don't normally create or have right now. A while back, it was mentioned that we were builders years ago. We had Black Wall Streets in various towns across this country. But today, that image has been totally lost. So we got to know our history and do all we can to become more united as a people and vote and vote and vote.
Do you think that we're stronger? Do you think we're strong enough to do that now, to build our own communities? Like, do you think we are strong enough to, you know, create another Black Wall Street? Like, where do you think that we are as a community to be able to do that?
So back in 2020, that was all this whole area down here. It's pretty much open. We did not have a lot of companies that was down here or a lot of businesses that was down here. Just open, random, buildings that anybody can come and get. So that was my goal. I wanted to gather as many people, business owners that I could find to come and buy all of this area back. One of the things that we had issues with was the people that was owning it, or even just from the Chamber of Commerce, different things like that, them having issues with us trying to even come in and do anything. And people get discouraged because they get rejected.
Yeah.
But just because you get rejected once, that does not mean that that's it. Delayed but not denied. Make sure you keep progressing, keep being consistent in the things that you want to see. So I feel like once we do have that unity and we do see that there are people that's backing us up, we can definitely come in and do things like that. But people just, they try and they feel like they don't got time for it no more. And they told me no, I don't want to mess with it no more. But that rejection is just going to make you stronger. It builds character. It gives you a lot more motivation that you need. So just keep persevering, doing what you need to do, and we can be able to do things that we think we can. So when people get that in their mind, we'll be able to do a whole lot more. And that's just pretty much what it's going to take.
Yeah, I also think with the advancements in technology, it makes it even more easier to rebuild Black Wall Street in your hands, right? We have more social media influencers, more online entrepreneurs, more individuals going back and getting degrees online, more individuals really contributing to the global economy from their home and making millions of dollars just by doing the same thing that you would do in a brick and mortar, and what they call a click and mortar now, where you're online shopping. There are a bunch of different platforms where folks are making merchandise, selling any and everything you can imagine. And so in a real way, I think we are a little bit farther removed from the contextual, physical Black Wall Street, but we are also very close to the next iteration of Black Wall Street, which is happening in a social, technological space. We're seeing more individuals that are really engaging in social media, not just for the cultural content, not just for the juicy gossip, not just for the tea, but for the money. And in a very real way, I think we have a rising millionaire class or a rising billionaire class that is coming out of the Black community. We're seeing HBCUs receive millions of dollars. And then I'll say this. Our hopes can't be caught up in economic prosperity. Because when we think about Black Wall Street today, we have a very loving, affirming reaction to it. But if some of us were to really be in that time and see what Black Wall Street was, it wasn't streets of paved with gold. It was individuals that were selling, plates out of their house. It was individuals that were given loans based on being able to bury someone. And so I think the conditions by which we are kind of caught up with the enamored image of Black Wall Street, it wasn't just all glitz and glamour. It was hard work, but that hard work produced diamonds. That hard work produced a legacy that we're still a part of. And we have to keep that in mind when we're approaching Black Wall Street today. It may not look pretty, but it's going to get the job done. And if we believe in it, then we can make that next climb up the ladder in regards to our own personal and cultural attainment.
Yeah, so you said personal, so that's more like individual. So I'm looking more so like the togetherness, like Deanna was saying, but you're speaking based on people individually getting the bag, pretty much. But how is that helping the Black community as well?
That's right. We have to be careful about this image of being a part of the top 1%. We have to realize that even in Black Wall Street, the end goal was not to become a millionaire. It was to make sure my community was safe, people had the goods and services that they needed, and our young people were able to make a benefit or be a benefactor of all of our hard work.
Yeah.
So it wasn't about, dreaming to be in Beverly Hills or dreaming to move out of the hood into the country club. It was about making sure that there was a service in my community that our people needed that we weren't getting. And I'll say this too. One of the reasons why Black Wall Street grew at its peak was because we weren't able to go into white businesses.
That's right.
And so whenever you lift that veil and allow this semblance of quote unquote unity among the races from an economic standpoint, it didn't benefit us to be integrated because we left our current Wall Street and went to the main street.
Yeah.
And that's where the problem is. And not saying that that's not a good thing, but what should have happened in our businesses is that white residents should have saw the intentionality of coming to our businesses, and we should have marketed to their individual crowds to come into our businesses. We should have never closed down our schools. We should have fought to protect those schools. And in some cases we did, like in Greensboro, North Carolina, Dudley High School, one of the remaining Black schools that integrated properly and still to this day have a very rich legacy and tradition. West Charlotte in Dillard in Goldsboro. There's some examples of living legends of integration from a positive standpoint. But in most cases, whenever integration happened, a lot of folks exited the Black economic space.
Ms. Covenant, let me add this in this part right here. Don't forget the role that historically the Black church has played in our community. The Black church used to be the epicenter of the entire Black community. And today, I believe if we had a revival in the Black church to create that platform to help us elevate our community, we could still do great things. My point is this. The Black church should leave from the sidelines and return to the front lines in fighting for change, in fighting for improvements in the Black community. That's going to be hard to do, but that is a start. It used to be the main start. And years ago, the Black preacher was a respected individual in the whole community. That we have lost a great deal of.
And that may have been by design, Mr. Sutton, because step one was getting us to leave our Black businesses. Step two was removing us from our Black schools. And now we're in the living embodiment of step three, which is removing us from our Black spiritual spaces. All right. Not just talking about gentrification, because even during gentrification, we would still drive to the Black community that was gentrified because the Black church was still there. Now we're seeing a push equal to the integration on all the other levels and the demise of our community and culture. We're seeing the same thing happen with the Black church, where individuals are opting to go to different forms of worship. Not saying anything is wrong with that, but when you miss the root, you don't get the fruit.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna say this: the Black church is just going through. the Black church is just going through.
All churches going through. You see, I'm not gonna pick a denomination. It's a lot of religion that's. But I got you. I don't want to miss that point.
Yeah, like they're going through, and it's mainly because we are not united. Like we get on the internet, and that's all you see is people talking about the Black church. And I don't understand how it is that you're going against yourself. We are the church. We are. We just go to a building. Mm-hmm. So if we are not on one accord, if I don't possess the same spirit that you possess, then of course we're going into the building fighting each other. It makes absolutely no sense. That's why the Bible tells us that we should be on one accord. And so I think that's where we need to start. We need to go back to the root issue. I believe slavery was the root issue because we were separated and because we were pit against one another. If we could get that through our, my mom used to say, through your thick skull, that your brother and your sister is not your enemy. They are not your enemy. You know what I'm saying? So the Bible speaks about principalities in high places. That's where we need to start at. And we need to understand that we are here. Some of us are on the same level. Some of us are on different levels, but we are not supposed to be in competition with one another. Okay, there's none greater than John. That's what the Bible says. So we can just get that. There's nobody greater than John. John the Baptist. And so if you feel like you are greater than your brother and your sister, then I feel like we're not going to progress.
Yeah. A lot of things I hear from individuals that are hyper religious is even just like our community where they say, well, if you're religious, you just believe in Jesus. You don't have to worry about politics. It's going to take care of itself. That's a misinterpretation of the Bible.
Yes.
Jesus was born under a governmental process called the census, where they did an audit in which his family had to move back to their place of birth in order to be counted properly. Jesus died a political death. He was brought up on charges because Pilate didn't want to lose his next election. And so when we really uncover the spirituality in which Jesus lived and the teachings in which we were taught, we would understand the importance of politics altogether. Even he understood it. He said, render unto Caesar what is Caesar's and render unto God what is God's. But we seem to be too scared to live the Jesus life because ultimately we know the sacrifice that he had to pay. But in reality, I do think there's a lot of context between our current condition, our lack of understanding of politics, and the intersection of politics and spirituality.
And the black church that used to produce our leaders, our politicians. Most of our early black politicians, even in Congress or on the state level, they were nurtured in the church.
That's right.
They learned leadership skills in the church. And the church became that hub where everything filtered through to help elevate the entire community.
Yeah, so the attack is going to be on the church.
That's right.
And we're falling into their plan. And so they're allowing us to see see little things on the internet to make us feel like the church as a whole is the enemy, but it's really not. It's a play against our intelligence. We are the most intelligent people on earth. And because we don't know who we are, and because they know who we are, then they will pin us against each other every single time. So I just say, we need to wake up. Like, we need to literally wake up, and the things that they are forcing us to see are the things that we really need to pay attention to. So if they're telling you that the church is the issue, then you need to pay attention to the church and see why they're trying to force that on you. Amen.
Amen.
Guys, I have really thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I feel like it has been very enlightening to the people who are watching, so that they can get a better understanding of who we are as a people. Who we are as a people. You heard Mr. Sutton talk about numbers. When we come together in numbers, y'all, we can do some things. And I really think that's important. If you don't need anything else from this show, know that 1 + 1 literally equals 2. And if we can get 2,000 + 2,000, that's 4,000 of us coming together and doing what we need to do, not just for ourselves, but for our community, for our generation. And so thank you guys for expanding on these questions. But I do have another question for you. As a people, in what direction should we go in? Like, what can we hope for? Is there any hope? What can we tell the people to make them understand that we can go further, that we can continue this journey, even though we feel like we have taken a step back, we can still move forward and progress.
I just think that we just need to start coming together more as far as like actual physical things, meetings on Zoom if we can't be in a physical presence together. Just steadily sharing that knowledge and getting people to understand that this is serious and we really have to do something about this if we want things to change. If we don't do anything about it, it's definitely going to stay the same or it's going to get worse. So the more that we can come together and start maybe having meetings on maybe like once out of the month or bringing back in the church, using the church for those type of meetings, being able to host those type of events there, having, public speakers come in, people like Mr. Bass and Mr. Sutton, having them come in and just having a conversation with people just to help them get a little bit more acquainted with the issues that we face. That's just the starting point. The main thing, we see everything start up all the time. The hard part is keeping it going. So the more that we have coming in that are willing, you have to be willing whenever you are doing work like this, because if you don't have that willing, everything that you're doing is just kind of redundant. So you just need to make sure that you do have a purpose with the work that you're doing, know that purpose, and stand on that purpose. Unify yourself with people who can agree with what you're saying, or even sometimes you don't even have people to actually agree. Sometimes having that off thought or whatever can bring in new ideas. So it just simply start with having a conversation and coming together for the most part, in my eyes. That's just the starting point. From there, you'll be able to take off and do whatever else you need to do as far as trying to make things better.
Yeah, I think there are two things that are happening right now. There are a lot of women that are taking leadership, and I think for men in this community that think you are leaders, you need to learn how to be led by women in this moment. We have a whole other panel conversation about the impact of men in leadership and what that has done to in some ways move us forward and in some ways move us back. But right now, I think from the election we saw in 2024 to Kamala Harris, to people talking about women in the role of spiritual leadership, to even women leading businesses. I think that we have a moment where we need to get behind women in leadership. Never has there been a woman, particularly black woman in leadership, that has been in leadership and has forgotten the black man. And I think we have to always keep in mind that one of the things they try to attack is attacking the black unit, the man and woman together. And I think together is what makes the leadership complete, not one over the other. And I think the second thing is continuing to seek knowledge. It's okay to not know something, but it's worse to avoid something because you don't know. And I think they are counting on us more and more to have a fear response to things that we don't know, or to turn away or ignore or not acknowledge the things that we don't know. But I think the more that we understand, the more that we seek to understand, the more that we listen until we understand, then we can move forward. And I think time and time again, we have shown ourselves that we can use our own internal knowledge as a community to do great things, and I think we're in that moment right now.
And of course, there's no sense in reinventing the wheel. I say that to say this. Again, the NAACP as an organization is 117 years old. This year, the branch here is turning 71 years old this year. And my appeal would be for young people, your age, Ms. Butler, of course, Mr. Bass, you are involved already on the state agency level and here as well. We need to get young people engaged in a committed relationship with the local branch of the NAACP. We need young leaders to take ownership of what's going on now at the branch in this city and county. So my point again is, let's use what's already active what's already energized, what's already doing things to help bring in young people. So let's get to the point where we sleep, we eat, we walk in the NAACP mission and vision for America and turn things around.
Yeah, we agree with that. As far as the NAACP, I feel like I've been associated with the NAACP for a long time. Joanne Howard is my aunt, so she kind of keeps me involved with everything that's going on for the most part. So I haven't actually become a member just yet. That is in the works. But it's just, hearing from people that are in my generation, they feel like now the older people owe them. And the respect is not there like how it was back in the day. The parents, they used to make us come and do stuff. Now kids have the option to do certain things. And then you have some of them that are just forced to do it. So whenever they do get older, they just, I don't want to do it no more. So we have to try to find ways that it's going to be appealing to the younger crowd. Sometimes it's not going to be just them coming to the NAACP. The NAACP, like you said earlier, Mr. Sutton, we got to get back on the front lines again. So hit the streets, do whatever, go to the locations where most of the younger crowd hang out. Just talk to them, even though it may not be the setting that you want, but it's nothing to spark up the conversation. I know I go through a lot of prayer rides and stuff. Go out there. I'm always constantly promoting good things, positivity, and stuff like that. I talk to people about things like that out there, and it might not be the setting, but somebody out of the group that you talk to, they're going to take in what you're saying, and they're going to have deep thought about it whenever they get home. And it's either going to push them to go ahead and want to do it, or it's either going, okay, well, I don't really know yet, but the more you be consistent with that, going back and talking to them, checking on them, just like how Mr. Bash used to do me, like, hey, y'all, I see you doing this, I see you doing that, you need help, you got what you need for this, that's
Telling you what to do.
Right, asking me what I want, right, what we want to do. So whenever you have those type of organizations in place, both sides have to be open to what is going to be given. The older crowd has to be recipient, able to reciprocate what the younger crowd is giving, and vice versa. Everybody has to work together, and that's what the whole idea is, for us to be able to come together, regardless of what your age is, your sex, your race, your social class status, and all that stuff was created for division. So the more that we can get rid of those type of things and just look at each other, brother and sister, come together, work together, we have the same common goal that we want to reach. Just do it. Right, like you said, just do it.
All right, guys. Thank you again so very much for joining me here on Cutting Through the Red Tape. Listen, I surely hope that you guys were able to gain some clarity, some understanding, some knowledge just from this one sitting. This will not be the last time that you see all of us together. Hopefully, prayerfully, we'll be out in the community doing more. And so I just encourage you guys to reach out to one of us. Go down there to NAACP and see what information you can gather for them. But I thank you for tuning in and spending your Sunday afternoon with us here on Cutting Through the Red Tape. We're out. Peace.